Looking at a wire enclosure, it is easy to feel like your puppy is being locked into a cage. That emotional hurdle, the worry that crating is inherently cruel, is the first thing most owners need to address. But dogs have different psychological needs than we do. They naturally seek out close, enclosed quarters to feel protected, much like their ancestors did in a natural den. When you leave your house, your puppy's instinct is to guard their territory. Asking a tiny dog to watch over an entire home is often overwhelming. A smaller space reduces that responsibility to a manageable size, helping to prevent separation anxiety. When your puppy views this space as their own, the crating routine provides the structure needed for successful housebreaking and confidence building. To get started, you will need a proper setup: an appropriately sized crate, some soft bedding, a safe chew toy, and a towel carrying the scent of their littermates. Shifting your perspective from thinking of the crate as confinement to viewing it as a private bedroom is the first step in raising a well-adjusted dog. Step 1 is choosing the right habitat. Metal or hard-sided plastic options are the standard choice. While canvas looks nice, puppies have accidents, and hard surfaces are much easier to sanitize. Next is the sizing. Apply the Goldilocks rule. The crate should be just large enough for your dog to stand up, turn around, and lie down comfortably. If the crate is too large, a puppy will often sleep on one side and use the empty corners as a bathroom. To avoid buying multiple crates as they grow, choose one with a removable partition to adjust the floor space as they get larger. Step 2 is creating the den. Line the hard bottom with a crate pad or soft blankets to make the environment inviting. This is where that towel comes in. A puppy's first few nights away from their mother are stressful. Including a towel scented by their littermates brings a familiar chemical comfort into their new home, easing that transition. If you are using a wire crate, drape a lightweight blanket over the top and sides. This blocks visual distractions and mimics the darkness of a den. Just ensure there is enough airflow to keep the space cool. By managing the physical size and adding familiar scents, you turn a metal enclosure into a functional canine sanctuary. Step 3 is the introduction. Start crate time while home, using it as a quiet retreat for your puppy to unwind from household activity. Encourage them to enter on their own by tossing a treat or a stuffed toy inside. Once they are occupied, close the door for just 10 minutes while you stay in the room. Gradually increase these stretches as they get comfortable, eventually graduating to longer periods. You should also use the crate overnight. Expect some crying during the first few nights. This is a normal part of their adjustment to isolation, and you must remain consistent. Step 4 is establishing the potty routine. The moment that crate door opens, put on the leash and take your puppy straight outside to the grass. Because dogs naturally avoid soiling their sleeping area, they will be ready to go. Taking them out immediately teaches them that bathroom relief only happens outdoors after crate time. By linking the crate door to outdoor walks, you utilize their natural cleanliness instincts to speed up the housebreaking process. Step 5. The mandatory limits. Crate training is only effective when you balance confinement with strict time management. The math is straightforward. A puppy can stay crated 1 hour for every month of age. A 4-month-old puppy should not exceed 4 hours. Regardless of age, the absolute maximum time any dog spends in a crate is 6 to 8 hours. This leads to a critical restriction. Never leave a puppy in a crate all day. They physically cannot hold their bladders for long stretches. If a puppy soils their bedding because they were left inside too long, it is a failure of owner management rather than a behavioral issue. Finally, never use the crate for punishment or as a timeout when you are angry. This space must remain a place where only peaceful things happen. Respecting biological time limits and maintaining positive associations ensures the crate remains a tool for safety, not a source of stress. The successful result of this methodology is a dog that seeks out the crate on its own for peace and quiet, achieved through small time increments, strict adherence to limits, and a rigid daily routine. Stay patient during the initial 10-minute introductions, be consistent through the nighttime adjustments, and simply trust the behavioral conditioning. With the right environment and steady management, you aren't just training a puppy, you are. Modern veterinary protocols are moving away from chronological age, prioritizing physiological life stages. Domestic dogs exhibit the highest morphological variance of any land mammal. A flat chronological timeline cannot account for these extreme differences in development. Consider a 7-year-old Mastiff compared to a 7-year-old Chihuahua. While the Mastiff has likely entered geriatric decline, the Chihuahua is frequently just reaching middle age. Applying a standardized protocol to both risks clinical failure. To address this, the AAHA Canine Life Stage Guidelines define clinical care through specific behavioral and physiological milestones rather than human age equivalents. Relying on chronological benchmarks creates a mismatch between a patient's needs and their timing of care, particularly for breeds at the far ends of the species spectrum. Effective preventative medicine requires the synthesis of 3 distinct pillars: immunology, nutrition, and neurobehavior. We visualize this integration through a wellness matrix. The x-axis plots 6 AAHA life stages. The y-axis holds 3 care tracks. Stage duration expands or contracts based on breed size. For giant breeds, senior blocks shift left. Biological thresholds trigger the appropriate clinical intervention. This scalable matrix allows for standardized preventative care that remains responsive to the vast morphological differences within the species. The first 2 stages on the matrix are puppy, extending from birth to reproductive maturity, and junior, where the dog is reproductively mature but still growing. Tracking the AKC neurodevelopmental timeline reveals specific windows where cognitive and social development are most vulnerable. Within the behavior track, we see a sharp rise in sensitivity between 8 and 12 weeks. This is the critical fear period in canine development. This biological peak directly overlaps with the standard window for initial veterinary exams and vaccinations. Negative experiences during this window frequently result in lifelong reactivity and fear responses. Clinicians prioritize low-stress handling, pheromones, and positive reinforcement during these visits to prevent encoding behavioral trauma alongside medical care. During the junior phase, protecting the patient's neurodevelopment is as clinically significant as protecting them from infectious disease. Focusing on the immunological track allows us to map out the AAHA vaccine guidelines. These guidelines identify the core vaccines for all dogs: distemper, adenovirus, parvovirus, and parainfluenza. The AAHA dosage schedule is anchored to a specific biological threshold, the 16-week mark. The initial vaccination protocol diverges based on whether the patient has already reached 16 weeks of age. For dogs 16 weeks or younger, the guidelines require at least 3 doses. This redundancy is necessary to ensure the vaccine remains effective as maternal antibody levels decline. For patients over 16 weeks, or those with an unknown history, only 2 doses are required to establish an immune response. After the initial series, all dogs follow a universal revaccination standard, a single dose within 1 year, followed by subsequent boosters every 3 years. By timing these shots to the decline of maternal antibodies rather than an arbitrary date, the protocol maximizes systemic protection. The nutritional track of the matrix follows the profiles established by AAFCO. While AAFCO does not directly regulate pet food, it sets the nutrient profiles that manufacturers use to substantiate their products. There are 3 primary nutrient profiles: growth and reproduction, adult maintenance, and all life stages. Within the growth profile, there is a specific constraint for dogs expected to reach a lean adult weight of 70 pounds or more. These large breed formulations maintain specific calcium and phosphorus ratios to prevent developmental orthopedic diseases during periods of rapid bone growth. Feeding an adult maintenance diet to a growing puppy is clinically risky because these formulas lack the nutrient density required for skeletal development. Conversely, all life stages diets often contain caloric densities that exceed the needs of sedentary adults, leading to inappropriate weight gain. Aligning nutrition with the patient's physiological target weight provides a primary defense against orthopedic and metabolic failure. We now move the matrix timeline into the latter life stages. A dog is considered mature from middle age until they have 25% of their expected lifespan remaining. Senior covers that final 25%. At this point, the clinical approach shifts from physical observation toward quantitative diagnostics. Practitioners utilize the minimum database, a combination of CBC, chemistry screen, urinalysis, and parasite screening. For senior dogs, this database is a mandatory annual baseline. It allows clinicians to identify trends and subtle deviations in organ function before the dog shows visible signs of illness. Due to the speed of biological aging in these stages, semi-annual exams are recommended to catch changes that occur between annual visits. Establishing these quantitative baselines allows for the detection of subclinical failure while it is still manageable. Viewing the tripartite wellness matrix reveals how these tracks function as a single system. Tracking 3 patients, a poodle, a spaniel, and a mastiff, their playheads move across the timeline at unaligned speeds. Major milestones, like senior diagnostics or puppy vaccines, trigger at different chronological months, yet care remains perfectly aligned with their biological life stages. Comprehensive preventative medicine is the result of synthesizing immunology, nutrition, and behavior simultaneously. This clinical framework flexes to accommodate the specific genetic and morphological reality of the dog. Replacing chronological benchmarks with these interconnected guidelines allows veterinary teams to anchor preventative care to the patient's actual biological needs.